Thanks for tuning in to Neighbors Without Addresses Part 2. This is a solutions and engagement forum regarding Newark's homeless community. While we wait for others to join, I'll introduce myself. I'm Andrea Mason, Senior Manager of Newark People's Assembly, a division of the Mayor's Office that serves as the liaison between the community and City Hall. My office represents you. The mayor wants decisions to be made based on the wants and needs of you. So we want you to share your sentiments and your concerns, your questions as often as possible so that we can then relay them to the administration. Please email all your inquiries to Newark People's Assembly at ci.newark.nj.us as often as possible. Be sure to click the link for registration in the signature so that you'll be automatically included in Newark People's Assembly's listserv. This meeting, for those of you that are just tuning in, is the second part of the Homelessness Community Forum. It's going to be a little more interactive as I plan to ask questions throughout the program, not just at the end. So in part one, it was evident that the community wanted to discuss mental health and substance abuse and how it impacts homelessness and the services available. So it is our hope for tonight's meeting to have a dialogue around that, as well as additional barriers that impact service availability. So it's now 6:32. I usually allow a 2-minute buffer for people to join in. And I'm going to direct all attention to Sakina Hoyt, who is the city's homelessness czar.
Welcome. Thank you, Andrea. And again, welcome to everyone that's joined us tonight. My name is Sakina Hoyt, and I'm the homelessness czar for the city of Newark. Thank you all for joining us tonight on our part 2 for our homelessness forum on solutions and engagement. So my responsibility for those of you joining us the first time is to direct the overall strategic plan to address homelessness here in our city. I also direct the City of Newark's Office of Homeless Services, where our mission is to work collaboratively with stakeholders to promote the safety, well-being, and self-sufficiency of homeless persons through strengthening the homeless service delivery system with the ultimate goal of ending homelessness. The purpose of this community forum, as Andrea mentioned, is to engage with you all about homelessness here in the city and to discuss some of the solutions that we want to implement and that should be implemented. As Andrea mentioned, we look closely at the comments during the last forum, and it really was evident that there were a lot of questions around substance use and mental health and how that sometimes perpetuates homelessness, in addition to the need and the desire for us to talk a little bit about the real systemic barriers that exist that can sometimes perpetuate homelessness. Our mayor will open up this discussion with his remarks, and following that, you'll hear from our expert panelists, Janine Billings and Audrey Sykes, about their personal experience with homelessness and navigating the homeless service delivery system. We'll then hear from Kim Gilchrist, Community Engagement and Stakeholder Manager for the Office of Homeless Services and City of Newark Homeless Coalition Chair, about her direct experience doing outreach and providing one-on-one services, generally on an emergent basis. Lastly, we will open up the Q&A section of the discussion, and you'll hear from Debbie Underwood, Path Coordinator and SOAR Trainer for Project Live, Keith Middleton, Shelter Program Monitor for the single shelters in the Office of Homeless Services, and last but not least, Randy Burley, Director of Fathers on Fire. Now I'll introduce our Honorable Mayor Baraka.
Good evening. First, I'd like to just thank Andrea always for doing a fine job and making sure we connect to the community, People's Assembly. And I want to thank Sakina, the incredible work you've been doing. We probably should have made this happen so many years ago. Just glad that you are here doing it. The last homeless meeting we just had, talking about all of the efforts that are underway. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the shelter. I'm excited about the container homes. I'm excited about all of the things that are getting ready to happen in the city. just awesome work. And then all of the providers and help that you have on this Zoom, and the work that these people have been doing in the community decades before we even showed up here. So I appreciate all of the work that you guys are doing. And, you know, I'm glad we're coming together finally to try to figure out how to deal with this pervasive problem in our community, pretty intractable across this nation. If you look at it in proportion to the rest of the country, you know, so can't talk about 500,000 people around the nation. I think is a solvable problem if we had the will, the federal will and the state will. A lot of people look for the city to solve it all. We try, we just don't have full resources to do the incredible things we want to do. But we need more federal and state support around these things. And I'm glad that the folks are on here. So I'm gonna shut up and let them talk. You need to hear from them and not me. They're doing the work, and you know, I think you'll get a lot from listening to their accounts and from what's happening in the city. And I want to say after that first meeting, I received a couple of phone calls, inboxes, just from people looking for more assistance, looking for help, trying to engage and find out more information, which I thought was productive because it means that they paid attention, they listened, and now they want to be a part of what's going on in the city. So thank you all, and thank you for tuning in this evening. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor. I am now going to turn this discussion over to Ms. Janine Billings, who is an expert on homelessness and will really offer us true insight into what it's like to navigate through the homeless service delivery system in our county and in our city. Ms. Janine?
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you. Good evening to you, Mayor, for giving me this opportunity to address this situation. Navigating through the city of Newark being homeless was very hard because I'm not from here, I'm from New York, and things are run totally differently. However, I did know the first step was going to social services. That was my key. When I went there, information was given to me as to where I can go to sleep that night. I was turned to the Circle of Life. That's where my journey really began, because Ms. J and the staff there was able to direct me where I had to go for services in Newark, since I was not from this city. They directed me to Keith Middleton, and the first day I walked into his office, I said to him, I want to work. I was given that opportunity through the city of Newark to work. Actually, it's been 1 year later. I am a case manager with the Salvation Army, and I am able to give back to the community and the citizens of Newark what was given to me through this city. I'm able to give them a hand up, not a handout, because that's what the city did. But it was very difficult because I didn't know who I had to go to. But again, when I met with Keith, he directed me as to where I can go to look for apartments, where different shelters were with opportunities for me for work, which one did accept me. And that's where my journey began with this city. So I have to thank all of you, because I did have an encounter with Ms. Underwood during that time, and I will never forget her. But there are excellent services here. There are excellent case managers here, myself being one of them with the Salvation Army. I've been able to successfully place 15 individuals over the last couple of weeks with permanent housing. And that is due to the work that has been done with Section 8. So I thank you guys, and with you guys in the city assisting us.
Wow, thank you so much, Ms. Billings. I would like to put a pin in what you said, and definitely when we come back around, I have a question for you. You talked a little bit about some of the barriers that you face, but I'd like to hear in detail some of those things. I know you mentioned that it was difficult because you weren't sure where to go. So I'd like to unpack that a little bit when we get to the Q&A. Thank you for sharing. Miss Audrey Sykes, if you could share your experience with us, we would appreciate.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for, Sakina and Mayor Rajay Baraka for finding it not robbery to give me the opportunity to share my story as it pertains to my journey with homelessness in the city of Newark, and also the work that I've been doing since, since that all ended. So many people don't know I've actually experienced homelessness in Newark as a teen, as a young adult, and as a mom. But I think the journey that I want to speak about today, and the journey that was the hardest, ironically enough, was me being homeless as a mom. So I went, just like everyone else, we are told that we have to go with welfare in order to get placed in the shelter. And at that time, I wasn't receiving any benefits. I was staying with a relative. I had a spot of my own, and I was staying with a relative that, thought it might be a better financial situation for us to live together as opposed to apart, and things didn't work out that way. I ended up having to sleep in my car with my daughter, and going over to the welfare building, being told that there was no availability, and knowing that I had no place to go that night, and knowing that my options were few and in between. Me being 100% frank, I had to do what a lot of us fear having to do, but we know sometimes is necessary, and that's we have to make a little bit of noise, right? So they didn't want to place me, and I refused to leave without having somewhere to go. And so I asked her, I said, well, where's your car parked at? Where are we going tonight? Because I have nowhere to go. My child is 7 months old and I need help. And you're telling me no. How do I get this assistance? If you can't help me, point me in the direction of someone that can. And she said, are you sure you don't have anyone? I said, I don't have anyone. I wouldn't be here if I did. I'm like, it's a lot for me to ask for help. It's a lot for me to ask for help. And I'm asking, like, what can I do? And I don't know what happened or who she called or whatever, but she was able to place me. I mean, at that time, I didn't know the difference in the systems and the funding sources and whatnot. But because I was an unemployment recipient, I did not actually qualify for shelter placement through welfare because I had cash outside of welfare. So many people don't really understand the dynamics of that and how that works. And that's part of the system that gets us frustrated when it comes to being placed in shelters. So that I did have that situation happen to me, but she was able to place me into whatever program she placed me at. And, during my initial intake at the shelter, I cried. I cried for like 3 or 4 days straight. And then I said, okay, well, you know what? I got to make the best of this. This is what I want to happen by the end of this time, because they gave me a 3-month time period. And they said I had to figure out what I was going to do by the end of that 3 months. And the only income I had was unemployment, right? Her dad was in jail. And I didn't have any family or support that I could lean on. So I had to make it happen. I had to make the impossible. I had to make the impossible possible. And honestly, I didn't get much help from any systems. I didn't have time to sit around and wait and figure out who or complain about what they ain't doing for me, right? Because that's the number one thing. Oh, well, they ain't send me no apartments. They not trying to help me with first month's rent and security. And this is just from me being on the inside. This was the mindset of a lot of the women that I was surrounded by. And I wanted something different. And I tell the stories all the time. I used to put my daughter in the stroller and walk up and down from Newark to East Orange, Bloomfield, wherever, looking for rent signs, because this was a few years ago. And I end up finding an apartment that was in my price range, that was in my budget. And I saved every last dime I got from unemployment so I could be able to afford my first month's rent and security. I moved in with absolutely nothing. We slept on the floor for a little while, but that was okay. I made the sacrifices that I felt was necessary at the time because I wasn't getting the assistance from the system, or I didn't know how to navigate the system so that I can get the assistance that I needed. And I didn't have patience enough because I didn't know that at the end of the 3 months, there was a possibility of an extension if I qualified, right? And if I was being compliant with the system. So I said, listen, I got to go and I got to do what's necessary to make that happen. And it required sacrifice and it hurt. It hurt a lot, but I was able to make it happen. And at that time, the case management at the shelter I was placed is much better now. But I will be remiss if I did not say the case management was very lax. It was very loose. I was there and the entire 3 months, no one checked on me. No one checked on me to see how I was doing for a status update, whether or not I needed help or assistance. And so part of that experience is what, influences the way that I do my job now. I want to make sure that we're checking up on the women. I want to make sure that they're being connected to the resources and assistance that they need, because that's just something that wasn't a reality for me.
Thank you, Audrey. That was really powerful. And I think that it is the way that you absolutely provide your services is indicative of the experience that you've had, and the success that we see with the folks that you serve is indicative in you experiencing it and applying it to what you do. But it's important, I think, for us to really focus on as we continue this discussion, the systemic barriers, like Audrey mentioned, because not every person is going to come in contact with someone that has lived experience, that has that personal sort of experience with the system. And so I again, thank you, Audrey, and I think that this is going to be a great and colorful discussion. So I'm looking for, there you are, Andrea, you're back. Kim Gilchrist, I'm going to introduce Kim to come up and talk a little bit about her direct experience with outreach to our residents without addresses and the services that she provides when she's out in the streets and when she's receiving the calls in the middle of the night, because she is definitely someone that's facing barriers, navigating the system, especially in these, all situations that we deal with our residents without addresses are emergent, but hers are particularly emergent. So I'm going to give you the floor, Kim.
Thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for everyone that's on the panel tonight. My name is Kim Gilchrist, and I work with the city of Newark, and I'm also the chair of the Homeless Coalition, which we meet monthly. But what I'm here to talk about today is the barriers that we face nightly, daily in the city of Newark with offering our neighbors without addresses shelter. When a lot of people say, city of Newark is not doing anything, the city of Newark is not doing anything. Each and every night, we're on the street trying to get those that are living on the outdoors to come in. But what we don't know is that we can't force them to come in. And a lot of them have mental illness and some substance abuse, and we're dealing with that. We don't say that they're on the street and they have those barriers. We're trying to find solutions that meet them where they are. So we partner with Debbie Underwood. We partner with Drug Integrity House, Mr. Burley, trying to reach them, because we ideally would like to just take them off the street and make them come in, but they have rights as well. And so when you see, every night I receive calls from the police department asking me to come out and help them. I go out, we have shelter, we have family shelters. We have a shelter now, and if you don't even have ID, you can come into the street, off the street, but they say no. So what do you do when they say they're not coming off the street and you have those resources to help them? You keep and you keep and you keep and you keep trying. You keep trying. So if you see someone in the city of Newark on the street homeless, understand that we even partner with Bridges to have a van to come out to take them to shelter. You don't have to call, they have to make their way. No, we come and pick them up. We have drug counseling. We have mental health abuse. And also inside of our department, we have case managers. If you don't know how to navigate the system, we're here to help you. So when they say the city of Newark is not doing anything, we are absolutely working 24 hours a day to reach them where they're at. But if you have a mental, some of them are not shelter appropriate, and they have mental. Debbie and I were on the streets the other night with mental illness. If they say no, we can't. If they're not a threat or a danger to themselves, we cannot make them come in. Although we spend hours and hours and hours trying. I received a call from the hospital the other day that a gentleman was living inside of his car. Mental illness, but I was able to navigate that system, and he's sheltered today. And we need to talk about those families that are hitting homeless. I had a young lady that was living with 5 children in the kitchen, her girlfriend's kitchen, 5 children in the kitchen. She's now home. She's now housed. I was able to get her house. I was able to get her furniture. We had a young lady the other day on the street with an autistic child, but the child kept hitting the walls in the shelter with his autism. She walked the street and walked the street because he wasn't shelter appropriate. Those are barriers that we find each and every day. And I look outside the box and I'm able to get them housed. So there are barriers, but you just have to find a way. You have to care enough to say, that's the barrier, so how do we fix it? And sometimes it's not just, a shelter. Sometimes it's calling in a friend, calling a PSCNG who works with us to put them in a hotel until we can find them adequate shelter. So when you see someone on the street, please give us a call. And if they're on the streets of the city of Newark, trust and believe we know them and we're still advocating for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm going to turn this over now to Andrea to open up the Q&A section.
Sure, I've been having a little bit of technical difficulty, but first and foremost, of course, thank everybody for being here. I actually received quite a few emails with questions, and I'm trying to note all of the questions from Facebook as well. So in no particular order though, I want to let you guys know that many of the people are very appreciative of your service and what you're doing for the community. This particular person on Facebook says that we know some providers and provider employees make it hard and add red tape or act as if they don't care or want to help the individuals, especially as they're doing intake or within the shelters. So what do you recommend to these individuals and families? And I think that question came from when Ms. Sykes was speaking and just the adversity that she went through. So can you offer these families and individuals a little more insight or just some recommendations?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello? Okay.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So honestly, the one thing that I can say is, to not take no for an answer. Because had I not been persuasive, had I not, been persistent and I'm not leaving here until I get some help. I don't know if they would have dug in their bag of resources to pull out, oh, hey, I remember this program that's placing women with children, right? So sometimes you have to give them a little extra nudge because we have resources sitting right there at our feet that we don't take advantage of, because the realistic side of it is we get inundated with work as well, and this is me speaking from the other end. We do get inundated with work. We do get inundated with an influx of calls and people visiting. And sometimes it's not even that they don't want to help you, but because they're in overdrive, or maybe they're experiencing burnout, or they didn't think about the other options, because sometimes we're just so used to doing business as usual. This is what the program is, and we become a bit robotic. And we forget to think outside the box. We forget to color outside the lines. So I would say definitely to always be persuasive, but always get the names. And so this is the number one issue I have when people call and say that they were treated a certain way or they were given misinformation by an organization or a person. They don't have the name. They don't have the name. Always ask for a name, always ask for a phone number. And as hard as it may be, to try to be patient. Because they're you're already living through a crisis, right? You're trying to figure out where you're going to sleep at the end of the night, whether it's yourself or whether you have children with you. It's still a crisis, and it's very easy to get frustrated, and it's very easy to want to just throw in a towel. It's very easy to want to curse somebody out, and if we do that, we don't get the help that we need, right? Because they're in their feelings about us, cursing them out. So we want to try to exercise patience. And if there's a supervisor available, ask for a supervisor, ask for a number. And these things sound pretty cliche, but they work. They work. We have to start holding one another accountable. And I'm really big on that, accountability. I hold my residents accountable for doing what it is that they need to do so that they can successfully transition out of the City of Newark sheltering program. But likewise, I also hold the case managers and the social workers and the shelter staff accountable for making sure that they're providing all of the services that they're supposed to be providing to the residents so that they can transition out of the program, right? Part of one of the things that I do as a shelter program monitor, I go over the case notes. And so if I'm reading through the case notes and the case notes are the same like the week before, the month before, I know we have an issue. I know we have an issue because you're not going to tell me in 1 month this person hasn't achieved or accomplished anything, right? And so I'm holding them accountable as well, making sure that they're providing information. And then another thing that I do so that I know that they have the resources to provide to the residents, whatever resources come my way, I make sure I send it over to the shelter and the shelter staff so that there's no excuses, right? We're all holding one another accountable. And another thing that I do is I have monthly calls with all of the residents that we have placed in the shelter staff so that we're all on the phone, we're all in one accord, we are all in understanding of what is being asked, what the next steps of the journey are, who's responsible for what, the timelines that are set, and and we're holding each other accountable to make sure this happens. So accountability is definitely key. Get them numbers, get them email addresses, get them names, get the supervisor name, make sure you write down what time you spoke to them on what number, like any detailed information that you can get, I think is very, very important because we have to start holding people accountable for doing their jobs. That's it. I'm just asking you, I'm just coming here for you to do your job. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes. And I also want to ask of your colleague, Mr. Middleton, for a single person looking for a place to stay. Now, of course, we're not in the City of Newark, we're not in the real estate business, and we don't have just apartments for people to go into. But do you have a specific recommendation for someone that's single that works? Are they eligible to stay in a shelter, or do we have some secret list that you could contact to say, hey, this is a person that I recommend and here's some housing?
Yeah, good question. First and foremost, thank you for having me on your platform. I will tell you first, the first thing you need to have is empathy.
Mr. Middleton, I do apologize. I went straight forward to the question, but I don't know that you introduced yourselves to the people. So please do that.
No problem. Thank you for having me. My name is Keith Middleton. I'm the City of Newark Shelter Program Monitor for individual shelters. I'm a Newarker. I'm someone who's been in the social service field for 20 odd years. The first thing you want to do with anyone is you want to communicate with empathy. You want to be patient with the trauma that they have endured. You want to have your ears wide open to answers, because the answers that you get will start developing your case model plan for these individuals. To answer your question, the City of Newark offers available services for working residents as well as residents without income. We do ask these residents to exhaust the last resort of payee by applying for benefits via welfare, and that's emergency assistance, TRA, SNAP benefits, and as well as Medicaid. The number one thing is knowing their history, knowing where their strengths are, and keeping and maintaining those strengths while at the same time improving the weaknesses. If someone is looking for housing, our job is to let them know or make sure they're clear on the fair market rate, understand what it is that the income makes them eligible for, and then try to put them in place, put them in a proper place. Our individuals have experienced high-level rejection. You don't become homeless without experiencing high-level rejection. With that rejection, every time you reject it, that chip away at your confidence. So City of Newark, what we try to do is we slowly but surely build confidence by referring them to services that can help them, whether it be identification and our vital statistics department, or transportation through bridges, or through mental health services through Project Live, etc. The key to all of this is to have empathetic ears, to understand that this moment that you're in front of this person is the most important moment that this person has. And if we don't treat it as such, we won't be able to service it.
Appreciate that answer. Now, generally speaking, for those residents without addresses that don't have identification and otherwise can't handle business, do we have services that can help to provide that information for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Each resident, once they reside in one of our city of Newark shelters for over a span of 3 weeks, they will receive a residency letter. Okay, and they can take that residency letter down to our vital statistics department, which is located on 394 University Avenue, and they'll get the application. The application consists of the general information as well as a hardship application. Okay, and then they can take their hardship application to City Hall. I think it's the second floor, and they'll get that notarized. And from there, they'll go right back, and that notary will waive the fee to the ID. And instantly, once they get the ID, that empowers them for employment, that empowers them for housing, that empowers them. This is identifying who they are, that they are Newark resident. So these are the questions that we have to ask. I mean, that's the criteria. The first thing we ask before going forward with our intake are you a Newark or Essex County resident? And you notice I said Essex County. The city of Newark is one of the only cities that takes in other residents. So I want that highlighted, that not only are we servicing Newarkers, but we take in and service other residents, which means we provide them anywhere from shelter stay to transitional funding. This is something incredible, and is a model that I wish will extend itself to all over New Jersey so we can be partners in hand. But once again, identification is the first footprint, the first foundation you would need to obtain a job, which will lead you to housing.
Thanks, and that's not just for those in shelter, but just in generally speaking, anybody that's in need of identification can go through that process, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's switch gears a little bit as it relates to like the mental health and substance abuse. So as many people have alluded to specifically in the Facebook Live, there are many individuals that are on the streets, and as Ms. Gilchrist said it, sometimes that is the number one reason why they aren't seeking the assistance that they would normally, because they're not understanding of the matter at hand. So Ms. Underwood, I know that through your organization, you provide special services. So can you speak to us about who you are, what you do, and what your organization provides?
Sure. So I want to first say thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being amongst all you important folks here. So I work for Project Live. I actually am a coordinator for projects for assistance in transition from homelessness. Short for PATH. It is a federally funded program. Actually in Essex County, there are two. So the Mental Health Association of Morris and Essex County, they actually service the county. Project Live's PATH program that I coordinate, we service Newark only. So we actually work with individuals who are homeless or at risk of homelessness and who also have a mental health diagnosis. So I've been with Project Live since 1992, believe it or not, and we started the PATH program in 2005. So aside from coordinating that program, Project Live is also a housing developer. We serve as a landlord, and then we also partner with Department of Community Affairs. We have had a partnership with Newark Housing Authority for subsidies set aside And then we also have a service program where people are visited in their apartments to ensure success, right? I would like to kind of set the tone a little bit by reading something. Author is unknown, okay? And it's called Imagine Being Homeless. So imagine if you were homeless. What would it be like? Simply to survive would likely consume most of your effort and energy. When you need breakfast or lunch, you must go and stand in line at the soup kitchen, roughly an hour before it opens, so you can be fed fairly early. Imagine if it's bitterly cold or horribly hot. As you think about what it would be like for you to be homeless, imagine that you have a psychotic illness, the hallmark of which is trouble thinking clearly. So you are constantly distracted or confused. You are deeply depressed, so you have literally no energy. Or perhaps you have manic symptoms, so your thoughts move so quickly you can't keep up. Then suppose that you need clothing, and as is often the case, the place to get clothing is on the other side of town. You have no money, so you have no transportation. You must walk and carry all that you own, since there is no place to leave it. Then if you need treatment, you usually have to be at the clinic for walk-in, say Wednesday around 10 or 11 a.m. But that's also the time for the special warm clothing place. Since you have to get clothes, you give up on treatment. When you're struggling with all of this, the people who can help have lots of different rules that you must meet to get their help. And these rules are different from place to place. If you mess up, say miss 2 or 3 appointments, they won't service you. This is while you're hearing voices or struggling in other ways, and the whole time you're terrified. So how do you manage the terror? If you stay on the street, you could get assaulted or robbed or even killed. If you go to a shelter, you have to sleep very close to someone you don't know, who might be withdrawing from drugs or hearing voices or having a seizure or a lot of other problems. Even in a shelter, you might be assaulted or robbed. To manage the terror, you drink. It helps you sleep wherever you are, at least for a little while. And it helps you from feeling so frightened. Typically, what the helpers offer is not what you want. A shelter bed rather than a home, emergency care rather than helping you get well, rejection rather than welcome, labeling rather than understanding. You are told that you are resistant or non-compliant, and the blame is put on you for not changing. Helpers don't do this intentionally, but we do it. So please keep in mind that this is what it's like. Remember, the person is literally struggling with survival. It is not that people don't want their lives to be better. In fact, they desperately do. Often, they just don't know how. And they are busy trying to stay alive. So I'm also a SOAR trainer, which stands for SSI, SSDI, Access and Recovery. And this actually was part of an exercise that we do to kind of set the tone. And I thought it was perfect for this live so that we can set the tone and know who we're working with. We don't only have barriers from the consumers, the clients that we work with. We got barriers right in our own systems. We have underfunding, right? We got slow moving cash flows, right? Most people got to get reimbursed and all that. And the other thing we don't have a lot of is permanent housing slots. We don't have the money. It takes money. It takes resources, and we don't have a whole lot of that stuff, you know, but I just want us to be clear that sometimes even our mental health treatment providers will deny a person treatment because they don't have an address. I've already experienced it more than once. So it's taking a look across the board, not only the clients or the individuals that are without a place to live, but it's also our systems. So
thank you, Ms. Debbie. Yep, thank you so much. This news feed is singing you praises. You've helped quite a few people that are tuning in, and they're saying that you are the truth. So I appreciate your service to the community. So there are just about 20 more minutes left in the segment and about 10 more questions. So I'm going to try to get through them as quickly as possible. So I do want you to answer them, you know, in detail as best as possible, but let's not, you know, try to be as succinct as possible if you don't mind. So oftentimes we think about the homeless families as a female and child, but what happens for those fathers with children? How are they provided for and accommodated?
So all of our shelters are not, they're family shelters, right? So families encompass just that. It's not women and children shelters, they're family shelters. And obviously each shelter has their own set of rules and regulations that govern the facility. Based on the family's composition will determine where the family is placed.
Simple enough. Appreciate it. And for individuals who would like to make food and they want to go and give back by means of clothing drives, food drives at Penn Station, what do you recommend? I know that there is something within the city of Newark that, and I really don't want to talk about it. I want you to talk about it, but I know that we're really trying to get people from doing that type of service at Penn Station directly and partnering with those churches and some other community-based organizations in the surrounding area. Can someone speak to that, and specifically to those individuals that have the resources to offer to the residents without addresses, and where should they go? How should they make their efforts known to whomever it is?
So I'll start. Our recommendation is that they partner with some of the agencies that are already doing this work. So St. John's Soup Kitchen is a huge staple in the community. They feed over 750 meals a day, and they're about a block away from Penn Station. And so what I will say is anyone that's familiar with our residents without addresses that are living in the Penn Station corridor, they know the resources that are available. And St. John's, again, is an institution. It's a place that they frequent. I would also share that there are many other soup kitchens throughout the community that you can partner with to assist, volunteer at. The shelters are always accepting food donations, and so we can certainly share the information there. There are agencies that we partner with that are providing food resources to those that are not transient, those that actually cannot move out of the Penn Station corridor area. And they're generally out there, you know, on a daily basis. So we have New York City Relief, we have Bridges Outreach. There's a bunch of agencies that focus on that area specifically. And it is really important that we monitor and manage those that are partnering with us to ensure that folks are eating, because you don't know what's coming into the community. You don't know what's in the food. And we don't want to be in a situation where someone gets something that's not necessarily good for whatever reason. And it's important for us to protect our residents without addresses when it comes to that as well. We just have to be really careful. And I'm sure that there's other folks on here that know of other agencies that people can partner with to assist with food efforts. And if you do, please share it in the chat, because I know Andrea wants me to be quiet.
I'm not going to say that out loud. So next question, and I do have a few questions as it relates to the LGBTQI plus community. Does the city of Newark offer any LGBTQ plus specific programs for outreach within the city? Who's gonna take that one?
I'm just gonna go ahead and call on Kim Gilchrist.
I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, we do. We partner with Ray Foundation. They are one of the renowned LGBT outreach. They have an outreach program. The City of Newark Homeless Coalition also have an LGBT community that we go out for our neighbors without address and our youth. We have an entire subcommittee that we go to, and we work directly with Isaiah House. They also have a program that has that as well. So if you can contact me, I'll give you all the information needed to join our outreach.
So is there any specific data geared around the number of LGBTQ individuals who are homeless, and specifically those who are under the age of 26?
I'm quite certain the county has that. I'm quite certain they do.
Okay, and if there's a resident who's interested in that specific data, is that public information?
You can email me and I'll make sure I'll give it to them. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Absolutely. That was something that was emailed to me, so I'll follow up with that.
Make sure you give it to me. I'll give you the information you need. And if anybody interested in volunteering in that community, Elaine Helms of the Ray Foundation, she's always looking for people to join. Ray Foundation, and her name is Elaine Helms.
Perfect. Now, I received about 4 different emails regarding a program, and I'm like, what program are they talking about? So I went back and looked through some emails, and I realized that Essex County Project Homelessness Connect is coming up. So that is a program that quite a few people have registered to participate in, doing the head count and stuff. Is the city also participating with that?
Yeah, yes, we do. Each year we yes.
So how does a person who's interested participate, and they want to do it, even if it's a partnership with the county and the city, if they want to be enrolled in our volunteer efforts, how would they register?
Please email me and we'll make sure that, because we partner directly with Debbie Underwood and the Essex County Department to have we have a team of those who go out at different times to do. It's called the point in time count.
Okay.
Point in time count.
Just give your email address. You keep on referencing it, but give your email address.
Of course, the one in the chat room was doing it. Gilchrist, GILCHRIST K @ci.newark.nj.us. Kim Gilchrist.
Now, are there any qualifications to participating in that volunteer effort?
No. Just have to be 18 or over.
Okay.
18 or over.
Excellent. Now I'm going to read this question, and whomever it applies to most can answer it. How will the mental, physical, and financial health aspects and atrocities associated?
Hello? Hello?
You.
Kim.
Okay.
You're muted. I think you're muted.
I wasn't heard. Oh my goodness. I apologize for wasting that minute. Okay, how will mental, physical, and financial health aspects and atrocities associated with short-term and long-term housing insecurities be addressed in order to not defile the intentions of the program or damage the integrity? So I'm assuming that has to do with Project Homelessness Connect, because we are a partner with it. Is anybody familiar with that?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Project Homeless Connect Day. I'm not clear on the question and how it relates to Project Homeless Connect Day, but Connect Day is being coordinated by the Essex County Continuum of Care, who's responsible for all federal dollars that come through HUD specific to homelessness through Essex County. They'll be hosting the Point in Time Count subcommittee, which is a part of the Continuum of Care. Will be hosting a 4-day event specifically to try to get an accurate count of our homeless population. The 29th and the 1st will be Newark specific events, because we're really trying to hone in on who our residents without addresses are, so that we can better appropriate resources specific to those subpopulations. So to your point earlier, Andrea, we want to know how many individuals fall into the LGBTQIA population, how many homeless vets we have, how many domestic violence victims we have. And so that is the purpose of the point in time count. And what happens is, once we identify those numbers, the federal government will then review and they allocate accordingly. And so it is our hope that we can count as many folks as possible so that we can increase the resources that come into our community and appropriately allocate those dollars to those specific subpopulations. Now, I'll let Debbie talk a little bit about what the day is going to, what those days are going to look like at the event, and maybe we can get closer to answering that person's question.
If not, then I'll email that person back. That's a question that came through email, just for clarity, and then I can just email it to you offline and get an answer. But okay. I know we didn't hear from Mr. Randy, so I did want to give him an opportunity to share about his organization. So at this time, Mr. Burley.
Hey, good afternoon. Hello.
Hi, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay. My name is Randy Burley. I run an organization called Fathers on Fire. And don't let the name fool you. We also assist mothers. We assist them with homelessness. We assist them with food. We do domestic violence counseling. We do substance abuse counseling, anger management. And we also get a long-term treatment, a short-term treatment based on their needs. And we also advocate for them because, you know, I've listened to a lot that I've heard everybody say tonight. And a lot of people that probably...
Mr. Burley? This technology, my goodness.
That you're a paycheck away from being just like what our clients are, you know, and it's bad. It's really, really bad, and nobody's really addressing that issue. You know, it's just, oh, well, you homeless, it don't matter. I talk to you any kind of way. Now, you talk to me any kind of way, I'm not coming back. I've already walked 5 miles to get there. Then when I get there, you're gonna tell me, go get this, go get that, go get this, go get that. I come back with this, that, and this, and you tell me, oh, you got to go get this. Give me a list from the very beginning. You know, I can't afford to keep running around like that. And then, you know, this, you know, the state is advocating that they have this substance abuse program. Where's it at? You know, I got about 100 people calling me 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So I got to advocate to send them somewhere else because, you know, just when a person is saying, look, I'm sick now, Mr. Burley, you know, I need to go to detox now. You know, tomorrow I might change my mind. I don't have nowhere to live. You know, my family turned against me. Nobody's talking to me. I need detox now. You can't just send them to Bergen Regional because they're not going to accept them. They're going to tell you, oh, we got a 10-day waiting list, a 15-day waiting list. Now, okay, this person going to wait? No. So now I got to turn around, and I've been luckily over the years being able to connect with some programs in Pennsylvania and New York. And I, some drive, they'll come over and pick the people up, get them in the same day. And, that's bad. That we are a state with all the money, and we do nothing for the people that's dealing with substance abuse issues. Bergen Regional keep you 3 or 4 days. I mean, somebody been getting high for 30 years. What 3 or 4 days going to do for them? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now I come out of the detox part. You tell me now I got to go on another waiting list in order to come back to go to their little 21-day program. Now I got to come right back to the same community that I'm getting high in every day. And you tell me I can make it? No. We have to separate these people from this.
So, Mr. Burley, I get quite a few inquiries about exactly what you just spoke of. Somebody that's been drug addicted for years and years, and they go and they actually want an inpatient type of program, but they go to these places for a couple of days and then have to come right back to the environment in which made them the way it is, basically. So, what services can you offer, or what do you recommend for these individuals? Because when you give me this answer, I'm definitely going to write it down and make sure I contact them back, because there's about 4 different individuals that are seeking help, but find that the places that are local are not benefiting them specifically. They don't want to stay in the area, or they need some place that's going to be long-term to actually help them.
Well, I recommend a program called Elevate 8 in New York. A brother named Terry Hampton, he'll come over, pick them up, and they do 14 days, 10 to 14 days in the detox. Then they have the 28-day program, and they go from 28 to long-term. Because I'll tell them all, 28 days, it didn't take you 28 days to create this problem. So, most people, you get that ego, that chip on their shoulder after 28 days. Mr. B, I got it now. No, you don't. Because you mentally don't have it. Because, people, we got to face the fact that drug addiction is a mental illness. Like if a person come and got a cocaine habit, they're not going to accept them. So you got to tell them, that person, look, you got to go drink. To give them another addiction, because they tell me we don't service people with cocaine addiction. So we have no other choice but to send them to New York or Pennsylvania. But Terry Hampton is great, and they're getting ready to open up something, trying to bring something to Jersey, because I've been fighting with them. I'm like, look, we giving you clients. I need you to give me something back, and put something over here. So we'll have something that we can say belong to Newark, because, people don't realize, and I feel sorry for the mayor, because he got people coming from all over the state of New Jersey, and he got to take the weight for them. And most of these people don't have no affiliation with Newark. You get out of halfway houses, all the halfway houses, where they at? They're in Newark. So that means a Newarker got to fight. A Newarker got to fight with a guy from Asbury Park, Lakewood, and all these other cities. You understand? And it's the Newarkers. But Terry Hampton is one of the best. I can always, anytime Kim knows, she can always get in touch with me. If you call me one day, we'll get him in the next day.
Wow.
They'll cut the Medicaid on the same day. They do everything for them. And they don't have to worry about nothing. It's just you making a decision then.
I definitely recommend that resource. Time is winding down. I'm going to ask one more question before the closing. I know we're definitely going to have a follow-up session, a part 3, a part 4 maybe, because this definitely is not just something specific to our neighbors without addresses, but just to the community at large, speaking about mental illness and substance abuse. But the last question for the evening is, how do we get access to, not that one, but there is a question about panelist information. But the question I wanted to ask is about our residents without addresses. So the homeless individuals with disabilities, and finding units in existing or developing housing that they can apply to. So does anybody work specifically with the disabled population? And that may not just be,
okay. Well,
that also could include deaf and blind as well.
Well, hello, I am a case manager with the Salvation Army. We're at the Holiday Inn, and we do have quite a few people that are in wheelchairs or have walkers or canes. And what I do when we are looking for housing for them, when I speak with landlords, I do try to make sure that it's an elevator building. If it's someone with a cane that can walk, I will go to the buildings myself to actually check them out. Or I do speak with a realtor that I work with, and I do let them know this person has a disability. So this is the type of housing that is going to be necessary for them. And I've done pretty well. We've done pretty well with that. But it's really making sure that the need is taken care of. If the person has a walker or a wheelchair, you know that they're going to need a building that's going to have a ramp, or they may have to have an apartment that is on the first floor. And also housing the community itself. I have to make sure that if it's a person with a disability, there's access to the laundromat, the supermarket, pharmacies. There's a number of things that goes along with also housing people with disabilities, making sure that there's transportation within the area for them so that they can get back and forth to doctor's appointments. And I try to go the extra mile with also making sure that maybe there's someone within the community that they know. I try to move people in the same communities so that they do have a friend. So maybe if they're not able to get out, maybe their friend is able to get out. So it's just kind of thinking outside of the box too, with people with disabilities.
Add to what Ms. Billings shared.
I wanted to share the information for Harmony's House permanent supportive housing for people that are chronically homeless that also have disabilities. The number for that program is 973-623-8555. They can ask to speak to either Ashley Oakes or Ms. Fredericks, and they'll give you more information about it. One of the criteria is that they have to be chronically homeless. They have to fit the Housing Authority's definition of chronically homeless. Obviously, they have to have a declaration of disability. And there's a few other things, but you can reach out to Ms. Fredericks or Ms. Ashley Oakes at the number that I provided and ask for permanent supportive housing. That's specifically for individuals that are disabled that are also chronically homeless.
And also, Andrea, I'd like to give a number for the Project Homeless Connect count that will be going on January 27th. It is going to be hosted at the Essex County Branson Park on January 27th between 10 a.m. and 2. We have another event on the 28th at the same location, the 29th and February 4th. For more information regarding that, you can call 973-395-8350.
Perfect. Ms. Gilchrist, that's specifically for those individuals who want to be a part of the volunteer efforts for the the count?
Yes.
What is that called?
Point in time.
Point in time count. Absolutely. All right. Are there any further last minute comments before I close? because these meetings are always so fruitful. But I know just being mindful and respectful of everybody's time, I try to keep it to the amount of time that we agreed upon. So that was an hour. So we're a few minutes over. Anybody have any last words?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Hoy?
There you go, Keith.
Go ahead,
Yeah, so
Keith.
I wanted to give an update on our shelters. They're all working collectively and collaborating to transition our residents into independent living. What's in currently, Circle Life has got 3 people referred to the SRO program via the YMCA. Newark Emergency Services for Families is conducting case management at 224 Sussex Avenue, 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, essentially helping residents with the housing search. And the speaker 224, they are going through a case management evolution. They will be introducing a new case manager supervisor, as well as a grievance board and a grievance plan, as well as other client-centered case management models. So you'll see an evolution of 224 in the upcoming months to make it a stronger collaboration with the city.
I heard some other voices.
Debbie. Oh, you're on mute, Debbie.
Okay, so actually what I wanted to do was to say we all are still in need of 1-bedroom apartments. We still need it. I just wanted to throw it out there, and we need a lot. They are rental subsidies, including my program. And then of course, you know, the city of Newark as well is looking for 1-bedroom.
So Ms. Debbie, just for clarity, you're looking for landlords who have 1-bedroom apartments available for housing. Okay, correct. For housing individuals in need.
Yes.
Got it.
Individuals with rental subsidy. So they will get help paying rent. So it'll be based on income.
Okay. Last minute word?
I think Kim had some comments.
Hello, I'd just like to thank the community. We in the city of Newark, we have the community has really during our the COVID pandemic, our agencies like St. James Social Services, Amita Bay, Tanya from a Treehouse Services, my Block Association of Pam McKelvin. Our community has really come together to answer the plight of our America. I never thought that in a life that everyone would be talking about homelessness. Last year we tried to get this panel to come up and then we couldn't. And now America is talking about the plight of the homeless and people experiencing homelessness. It's not just in the city of Newark. This pandemic has shined a light on our plight. And our community has really stood up. It is not just the city of Newark municipality, but in the city of Newark, we have some agencies that have been fighting on a good fight on the front line. And I thank you. Thank you, community.
And I just want to... I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Ms. Gilchrist said. I just also want to thank the city of Newark. I am at a pandemic shelter, the Holiday Inn, and Rutgers Mental Health, Chief's Office, the Salvation Army. I just thank all of you so much for the work that you guys have been doing, especially for Section 8 being opened up for the project that we are doing. Thank you for everyone that's coming to help with the mental illness. And also, we are in need of landlords that have 1-bedrooms for Section 8 for people who have been out on the streets far too long. Let's give them a hand up. I thank all of you.
Okay, so I know everyone is saying 1 bedrooms, but being the program monitor for family sheltering, I'm actually looking for landlords that will accept the Section 8 subsidy for, you know, people that have vouchers for up to 3, 4, 5 bedrooms. Our women, our families, moms, dads, those who are sheltered at facilities, have been coupled with case management. Oh.
No.
You know, they have been coupled with case management, so they're not coming without experience. They're not coming without, you know, an arsenal of resources to help them. And again, that they do have subsidies, so I'm definitely looking for that as well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, I think okay, close. I just want to thank everybody for participating in this discussion and for tuning in to this forum. It was really important to our office and to the mayor to meet with everyone, to bring the experts on, to talk about some of the issues that we face, some of the barriers that are inherent in our system, that bleed through the system, and some of the barriers that we have created so that we can improve the system and make it more accessible and more equitable to all of our residents without addresses. It is our goal and our intention to not operate as a system whereby individuals can access services because they know people. It's our goal to create a system so that anybody that experiences homelessness can access the same level of service as quickly as the person that knows folks that are actually working in a shelter or folks that are working in service agencies that are providing homeless services. And so we appreciate everyone's time. We hope to continue this dialogue. We hope that you guys continue to hold us accountable to share with us some of the barriers that you're seeing, where we're falling short, where we can improve. And I look forward to further discussions with you all. You may contact our offices. The number should be in the chat, but if it's not, it is 973-733-9481. Please contact us if you have any, I'm sorry, I got it wrong, 973-877. 877-9481. That's 973-877-9481. Prayerfully, someone's putting that in the chat to share with you all. Thank you again. And I'm going to leave you all with this. Please, 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 if you identify somebody that is on the street and that is ready for shelter, that wants to go into shelter, I'm not saying ready as in they have to be shelter ready, that they want to go into shelter, please contact us. We'll send our outreach agency, Bridges Outreach, to their location to transport them to shelter. That number is 908-858-7019. The other piece is, if you know of a place that is voluminous with residents without addresses, a hotspot is what we call it. We may not know. We're trying to put together a comprehensive hotspot map and identify all of those areas throughout the city so that we can send our service provider partners, so that we can send our agency, Bridges Outreach, out to those sites so that we can engage and try and get folks into services and off of the street. Thanks again, everyone. We appreciate your time and have a good night.